Alrighty, hello all and welcome to the Operation Breakout Qualifier number 1, brought to you by One Nation of Gamers and where $15,000 will be at stake. I'm ZP, joined here tonight by one amongst many, and even in this first qualifier, we have some awesome teams competing tonight.
Oh, goodness, yes. Okay, so for those of you who aren't familiar with the tournament, we've got a ton of great teams invited to the tournament. So they're going to be sort of already seeded into a group stage. But right now, this is an open qualifier. It's a tournament for a tournament. Hopefully that makes sense. And we've got some amazing teams. So Nubris, one of my favorites, and that's the team I think we're going to be watching first, is basically the old Hubris team. So that's sort of harkening back to the old days of competitive Overwatch with Nubris. Well, it used to be Hubris. Now it's Nubris. Makes sense, right? We've got some other great teams. We've got some European teams. So we've got Rogue Esports. They're really good off the back of the Takeover tournament in Europe, and their European team. This is primarily a North American tournament, but we've got to see what they can do cross-server, basically. We've got OW Kings as well, another great team that has just been playing since the start of the closed beta. And to me, those three teams are definitely ones to watch. In terms of American teams as well, we've got a good bunch of American teams. You're more familiar, I believe, with the American scene than I am. Are there any American teams that really jump out to you, ZP?
Yeah, on the U.S. side of things, of course, you do have Nubris. You just mentioned them. Another team that has been getting a lot of good praise recently has been Northern Gaming Red. For those who haven't been following the scene, Soda Poppin has actually started up and sponsored his own set of esports teams. He has not one, but two teams in the tournament. Northern Gaming Red, which used to be a team known as the Grouchy Desperados. They've had some good showings, including winning one of the Ghost of Gamer Open Cups just about 2 weeks ago. And, of course, Northern Gaming Blue, which is also an EU team, a team formerly known as Gringos. So we're going to be getting both sides of Northern Gaming here tonight. Should be interested to see how things go. Or I haven't looked at the bracket, but I'd be curious to see if they win against each other just for, all Soda Poppin' round.
Yeah, I'm flicking through the bracket now, trying to see where they can meet up. I think they've got a good distance between each other. Northern Gaming Red, Northern Gaming Blue. I think they can meet in the round 3, which is... I'm not going to try and do that off the top of my head. But for those of you who aren't aware, this tournament is it's $15,000 prize pool, which I think is the largest in competitive Overwatch history, which is insanely cool. And this is the qualifier for it. And what we're looking at right now is this is brought to you by VGCN, the Video Games Voters Network. And what they're trying to do is raise awareness and bring gamers into politics. And sort of they've done a lot in the past to do with SOPA, for example, the internet regulation bill that comes up. But here they want to talk about, why am I forgetting this word? It's visas. Visas, of course it's visas. Yes. And it's a huge issue in esports, right? The ability for teams to basically get everyone into America for a competition, to play for money, basically to get these, I think they're called P1 visas, where you're basically competing as an athlete. And so you can compete for money. And if you don't get those visas, you can't compete. And I've seen so many tournaments in the past, and it's going to happen in Overwatch if awareness isn't raised and it's not clear about this sort of thing, where you're going to see teams bring people over and maybe one person doesn't get a visa and suddenly that team's all thrown into contention. So that's why this is such a big issue. And it's why I'm actually really happy to see them sort of getting involved in the Overwatch scene very early, trying to raise awareness about that kind of thing.
No, absolutely. And for those who want to look at one particular story that really sort of shows how messed up things can get, go and look at the story of Leffen. Leffen, of course, a huge Smash Brothers player, very well known. He's had huge troubles getting to the United States for events. And, if you read all about what's happened to him, that will definitely make the case more so than anything else. And while we're talking about sponsors, of course, we are sponsored here tonight by Razer. Razer needs no introduction. They are a peripherals company. They make some of the best mice and mouse pads, headsets, and more for your gaming experience. Definitely check them out. They're one of our sponsors here, and yeah.
Yeah, and also just rounding that out, we also have Master Overwatch. If you aren't familiar with Master Overwatch, they've been basically collecting statistics, and you can go and look up your own stats. They have a really in-depth and in-detail page for you to look at, and you can just see all your stats across all heroes. You can compare against pros as well. They're going to be doing some work with us in this tournament as well to help provide us with information in the later stages of the tournament, I believe, some of the later rounds and some of the group stages coming up. So I'm really excited to see what happens because I love stats as well, so I'm curious to see what Master Overwatch can bring to this event, basically.
Yeah, Master Overwatch, that's a website that's really been coming more into focus as time has gone on. It's where people like stats. And if you like stats, go to masteroverwatch.com. You can view your own profile. You can compare it to some of the top players. And Stats, of course, how to decipher them, that's all evolving. But for early on the scene, it's a really, really cool tool. So definitely check them out. Now, we were just talking about teams a moment ago. I'm looking down the team list, and a few teams that might be worth noting here as well. ZFZ is competing today. ZFZ, a lot of people might not know them, but they're a team that used to compete quite a bit in Dirty Bomb. They competed back in Tribes Ascend. Their roster has changed up quite a bit over time, but they definitely have some strong veteran players on there. And I'm really curious to see what they do here today. I do think they'll have a little bit of a tough go when they go against a more seasoned veteran team like Nubris, but you know, you look at their roster, there's good veteran players. There's also, for those who don't know him, Kudo Chop is on that team, probably most famous as being a Hanzo streamer in earlier betas. I'm just curious to see if we're going to see him play a ton of Hanzo here today and try and bring Hanzo into the competitive meta.
Oh, I would love to see some Hanzo. Also, speaking of Hanzo, we do have Northern Gaming Blue, which we mentioned earlier. Shades is on Northern Gaming Blue, and I know Shades does love his Hanzo. He basically, to me, he seems to play two heroes pretty much as often as he can, and that's Hanzo and Genji. And trust me, if you meet him in ladder, it's true terror going up against either of those. Also, another team that is in this open tournament is, well, this open part of the tournament is Colorado Clutch, and they had a really good showing at the Agents Awakening Award. I think that was what it was called.
Agents Rising.
Agents Rising, that's the one. I'm getting confused between tournaments. You can tell it's kind of late here in the UK, but that's just me being a little bit drowsy. But yeah, Clutch are looking really, really good in that tournament, and they could basically run up against some of the bigger teams. And now, because a lot of the bigger teams are already through into the group stage, it's coming up later, they have an opening here. And for those of you who aren't aware, we're going to be running 2 open tournaments, and basically the top 2 from each one gets into the group stage. So we have a group stage with 6 teams in it already, and I believe those teams are, so from North America, we have Cloud9, Team Liquid, Envious, Luminosity, Gale Force Esports, and then from Europe, to round it out, we have Reunited. Then we have 4 slots open. Top 2 from this event will go into those 2 of those slots. And then Friday, we're going to have another open tournament, and the top 2 from those will go into that. If that sounds confusing, don't worry. Just a ton of Overwatch coming up. Enjoy it. It's going to be mental because it's going for 3 more weekends after this.
The main takeaway here is that no matter what you're doing here in the month of June, stay on the ONOG channel. Check it out. Great games will be happening all throughout the month. Your favorite teams will be playing. The best players will be playing. And we're going to see some top-end Overwatch.
Exactly. It's like, I can't wait for it. And I love these open tournaments as well, because this is just giving teams a chance to sort of make themselves known. It's also giving some of the European teams that weren't invited into this tournament a little bit of an in. And as a European myself, you can hear it in my voice, I am quite English. I'm hoping to see Europe do some good stuff. Like, out of this bracket, I'm really looking forward to seeing how far Rogue can get, if Rogue will make it all the way. I'm also very curious to see how far Nubris can get. Those 2 teams are sort of my favorites going into this. But it's open for anyone. Anything can happen. This is the most volatile period of time in Overwatch, and that's so exciting to me. So I can't wait till we begin, basically.
Oh yeah, I mean, obviously we have a bit of a focus on the teams that have been around a little bit longer, but you look at the participation in the Open Cups that have been going on, whether it be the ESL Open Cups, which got something like 300 teams, the Gosu Gamer Weeklies, which have 64 teams and fill up within a day, to much to the detriment of some teams where it's like, wait, I didn't even get signed up in time. The interest in Overwatch overall across the entirety of the community has been just crazy. Teams are forming. We're seeing veteran teams defend themselves, but we're seeing new teams rise up every day. And it's just an exciting time to be involved in the comp community to see where things will settle in a few months from now.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, if you are interested in taking part, and you have a few friends who are interested in competitive Overwatch, just grab them together, take part in a bunch of these open tournaments. That's what they're there for. Don't be discouraged. Don't be afraid. We try and make it as smooth and easy as possible to get into. So if you do have, 5 friends who are interested in playing, band together or use, one of the resources, Reddit, Discord, anything you can find, get some like-minded players and take part, because it's amazing to see, and I love watching Overwatch across all levels. So from the highest tier that we've been seeing coming out of the closed beta to new teams forming together, trying things, experimenting, and just taking part and getting involved. It's really cool.
Alrighty, so the map draft has been underway, it looks like, and it looks like the map that we'll be playing here first is going to be Nubris versus Team Neighbors on Hollywood. Now, for those who haven't been following competitive Overwatch a whole lot as of late, let me tell you this much. When it comes to the maps that teams prefer playing, Kings Row and Hollywood oftentimes are the first map of a set, and if there's only one map to be played in the set, that is where things will be decided. Now, there's a lot of reasons for that in regards to people maybe not liking some defensiveness on Dorado, not liking the choke points on 66 and all the rest, but Hollywood and Kings Row, if you're a new competitive team, these are maps that you absolutely have to know with how map drafting is going nowadays.
Yeah, Kings Row, I've heard it called like the Dust 2 of Overwatch, which it's basically considered the most balanced map. It's not prone to any kind of cheese play. It's not prone to any full holds as well. You often get very long matches and very well-rounded matches off the back of it. Whereas stuff like Dorado, Numbani especially as well, Numbani can really stall out very early on. Hollywood's also very similar, and we're going to go into Hollywood first. And like I love Hollywood because it's just such a varied map. You have that first initial choke point that's very tight, very difficult to break through. So you can see some good defensive play, and then the step 2, you have all the high ground, and it evolves from that point onwards. So you get a good showcase of a team's well-roundedness, basically.
No, definitely. And Hollywood, I think even the first point has seen some of the most varied compositions that we've seen. I mean, for a long time, it was dominated by double builder defense. And in the comp meta, Torbjorn really hasn't shown up too much. But for a long time, he's been a staple in Hollywood, being on point A. Now, that's changed a little bit in the last week or two for most teams. I think C9 still runs a Torbjorn Symmetra on point A. But you do see teams sort of go for a more just definitive holding style here. That's why you saw double builder. That's why you saw Junkrat before Junkrat was played on everything. But then you get past the first point and you go into the streets phase and you see teams look for things that can dominate the high ground. You'll see more fair play. You'll see a lot of Widow on Widow. Back when it's been allowed, you'll see double Winston. Tonight, of course, will be one hero limit. So you won't be seeing double Winston here tonight. But I even think as teams adapt here to things like one hero limit, you could even see things like Winston Diva for the second point, just to have those mobility tanks that control the rooftops.
Yeah, absolutely. And you generally see things like swaps onto Genji as well. Widowmaker, of course, is going to be incredibly important. And yeah, just for clarification's sake, we are running one hero limit here, and we are running stopwatch rules. So just, to make sure everyone's on the same page with that. And yeah, it's one of those maps where the first point it's very stable. It's, again, not prone to any kind of cheese. It's a test of your ability to break a siege and do that reliably and consistently. So I'm expecting to see very quick offenses. I also like seeing Zarya on this map, by the way, just because Zarya is so good, especially in stopwatch, on getting you reliably all the way through the map. She's just very good for you set up that Tobal team, you get a clean team wipe, and you push through there. So I wouldn't be surprised to see some Zarya, but definitely in phase 2, swapping onto the Winstons, Diva, like you said. I'd love to see some Diva play. Like, I think Diva is seriously underrated. The defense matrix is so powerful, and I'd love to see teams start utilizing that properly. Genji's going to become very important. Then you have that final area where sniping is just so vital. And so we're going to see who's got the better sniper and who's got the better Widowmaker player.
I'm glad you brought up Genji, because Genji is a hero that we've seen a lot more with one hero limit. He wasn't completely gone in no hero limit, but looking at the Gosu tournaments recently, where we have had one hero limit and have sort of had that in our data set, we've seen a lot more Genji play because people realize, okay, if you don't have to be a slave to double McCree, you can throw in extra DPS characters as needed, and Genji comes into play a bit more. Genji, of course, really dynamic, not only able to get around the verticality of a lot of maps, but Dragon Blade, one of the best ultimates in the game for clearing out a point. It's a huge game changer. Also, speaking of heroes that we've been seeing a little bit more recently with one hero limit, Tracer has been starting to sneak her way back into the meta. Not used all the time by all teams, but we've seen teams like Reunited and Nubris, for that matter, use her on payload a little bit more frequently than they were before. So fans of Tracer, fans of Genji, pretty good time to be watching Overwatch right now.
Yeah, I'm definitely a big fan of those flanker characters. To me, they're some of the most exciting ones because when they go off big. And especially watching Genji, when that Dragon Blade comes out, it can just be 4 or 5 kills. And it's so dramatic. It's such a big swing. It's a good chance for the player to sort of showcase, hey, I can dash around your team. I can dance rings around all of you. And I look good doing it. And especially the same way Tracer, just dancing around, nipping away, not being, the complete... pain in the backside she is in 2 hero limit when you're trying to deal with 2 of them, but with one of them, it's just she definitely comes into there. She's very good for also just harassing and needling Reinhardt's, making sure that Reinhardt can't do anything, hunting down the supports, and especially with like Mercy now and the resurgence of Mercy, she's so vital. And the ability to hunt that down, I'm going to be curious to see if teams can actually pinpoint these Mercies, because quite often she just gets the resurrection off.
No, absolutely. Mercy play, in fact, there's been many matches I've casted recently where you can actually definitively point to a team winning and losing off the Mercy play. For better or for worse right now, for those who have been watching comp and all the rest, Mercy will effectively get a resurrection off at every major team fight. Her ultimate charges very, very quickly. And what that means is that if you're a Mercy player and you don't get a res off before you die, if you get picked off early, that is a huge, huge deal and can cost your team a team fight outright. So we see differences from top tier mercies to lower tier mercies, and that top tier mercies can not only stay alive and deal with pressure, but they can wait to the last moment and get that 3-4 person res that keeps their team in the fight. Whereas, perhaps a mercy that's less experienced might have to settle for 2 people at the most, or just get killed. So that's really a cool dynamic in games. And also, one other note here, since people are talking about Chad and all the rest, Rogue, of course, a favorite in tonight's tournament. They are down a player. Since Take TV LAN IDDQD, the player has left their roster. It was mutual on both ends. So they were going to be playing with a sub tonight called Toxican. And Toxican, he's been in the scene for a while, but Rogue One let me know and say that right now he's just a sub. He is not on their permanent roster.
Oh, yeah, I totally forgot about IDDQD leaving. That's actually really big for them. I'm curious to see if, the standing can actually fill those big boots, because IDDQD is definitely one of the better DPS players. And it looks like I think we are ready to get started here on Hollywood. So I can't wait till basically see what people pick. I can't wait till we begin. And I think we should take it away, ZP.
Alrighty, we are getting the game right now. It's going to be Nubris on the defense, and it will be Neighbors on the attack. Neighbors, of course, a team that very new to the scene, and we'll see how they're going to handle Nubris. Nubris, a team that has had some pretty good success recently. A little bit of falling off at time to time. Not quite there to the point where they can really challenge a team like Envy directly yet, but they definitely had some good moments in the tournament yesterday. And looking at their defense here, it is going to be Kusta on the Mercy, Buds on Widowmaker, Stoop on Lucio, Coolmat on the McCree, ID on Symmetra, and Minstrel on the Symmetra. And actually, I mentioned it looked like they were showing May for a little bit, but that is not going to happen right now, unfortunately.
Unfortunately. And on the attacking team for Neighborhood Overwatch, as you said, a new team taking part in this tournament, we have Transistor on Reinhardt, Donut, I love that name, on Mercy, Sub-Zero Fight, that's one hell of a name, on Lucio, Expree on Widowmaker, Mixwiz on the Zarya, and Ghost on Farah. So interesting, well-rounded teams they're picking from.
Definitely. And sorry, I'm getting a little bit of lag on my end. Hopefully I don't end up crashing here. I'm not running production today, so that is a good thing. But taking a look here at the defense, one thing that's really worth noting here is that ID on the Junkrat. We've seen Junkrat over and over again on point A defenses. That's not going to change at all here today. But the starting bell about to be rang. There it is. Neighbors now on the attack.
Yeah, and they're just going to take the time advancing it. It's actually, this is an interesting position from Nubris. They're a little bit further out than most teams are. They've got the Symmetra defensive web, so I think they're just looking for what damage they can find, and then they're just going to back up slowly. Widowmaker, however, is looking for a couple of picks, seeing if she can find anything, but it just looks like they're going to edge back and try and lure them into that little Symmetra web. They've got to be so careful pushing through that and make sure they don't basically blunder into it and ignore the turrets for too long, because I've seen so many people just lose 1 or 2 characters by not rapidly dealing with that.
Oh, definitely. And already we see right now that Neighbors is having a real trouble getting through and getting in through this archway. This is where the spam coming through, the Symmetra orbs, the Junkrat is really keeping them back.
Yeah, and I'm going to be curious to see if this Farah can get above and over. It looks like she's trying to go through the security room right now, trying to land a few shots onto Minstrel. He's going to back away safely, and oh god, there's Id finding some damage on that Junkrat. That spam is so dangerous. It looks like Expree has managed to get through on the Widowmaker. He's trying to find what damage he can. Oh, Buds with a counter snipe though cleans him up very, very swiftly, and I think that's just going to hold them back for another good sort of 20 seconds while they wait for those people to run back to the team. And oh, Buds is finding snipe after snipe after snipe. He's just picked off both supports at once. And unfortunately, it looks like ZP has dropped out for a moment, so I will be flying solo for now. There is the infra site coming up for Buds, so he will have vision on everything. He's going to try and find 1 or 2 more picks, but it looks like they've definitely stalled out Neighborhood Overwatch here as they're struggling to find position. Yep, ZP has just dropped from the game, so I'll try and get him back in as soon as possible. While we push, well, it looks like Neighborhood Overwatch trying to push in. There's a Symmetra web, just keeping them back a bit, and Stoop, his barrier is relatively unmolested as well, so he can basically just stay there and tank a whole load of damage while it just finds grenade after grenade after grenade and keeping them back. And Neighborhood Overwatch looking like they're really struggling to find the feet here, although it looks like Expree swapping onto the Soldier 76 has actually managed to sort of get around the back. He is now isolated with a Reinhardt. He's getting chased down. Meanwhile, Coolmat on the front line manages to clean up with the McCree, finds Flashbang, kills off a bunch of supports, and oh, down goes Fire as well. Buds is looking really good right now. He's kind of on fire. There's the next infra site up and running. He's going to try and find 1 or 2 more snipes as he picks people off, but it looks like Transistor is trying to push forward, and they have really stalled out here. 3 minutes left on the clock, and it's looking like Nubris are just on form. They're ready to go and prepared. I'm curious to see what this Zarya can do. Like I said, Zarya is very, very good for finding that reliable push. if she can build up her ultimate, and it looks like it's ready to go, so Graviton Surge is up and running. So if she can drop that, and if they can get an ultimate on the back of it, and it looks like Ghost is also swapped off that fire, so it's onto Hanzo right now. If they can link up at 1 or 2 ultimates and maybe push off the back of that, but they have to be so careful because Custer is ready to go with a Resurrect. And if Custer picks everyone back up, it's going to be a huge problem for Neighborhood Overwatch. Right now, just jockeying for position. It looks like they've gone through the archway. That's the first major hurdle, but Buds finds the snipe. It looks like Xbree again has swapped onto Widowmaker, but Buds is just on fire right now. Fighting kill after kill after kill as Donut tries to sneak through, and it looks like Neighborhood Overwatch have sort of got themselves a little bit stuck in the back alleys, so they're trying to just push out of that. Can Zarya find a good place for this ultimate? There's Id finding the Zarya, and Coolmat also finds the Mercy as well, so that's going to stall up any real push here. It's going to be very difficult for them to basically push back into it as I pull ZP hopefully back into the game, and he can rejoin the call fairly soon. And yes, it looks like he's on his way back, which is absolutely lovely.
Yeah, that's I have never blue screened before in the middle of cast. That is new territory for me. I'm logging back in. I'll be back in a moment. But what are we seeing right now?
We are seeing basically Nubris has managed to stall out completely. Buds is just finding pick after pick after pick, and it looks like Neighborhood Overwatch are basically playing pass to pass with the Windmaker. There's the Zarya. Graviton Surge comes through. There's Transition with the charge, but Stoop manages to catch him off with an Earth Shatter, goes to the counter charge, does manage to land it. Coolmat, meanwhile, cleans up 2 kills in the back there. Fan the Hammer just finding kill after kill after kill. It's just Zarya left now. She will get cleaned up there by Stoop and just hammered down. Let me try and bring you back into the game. And Donut comes in with a Resurrect, so it looks like Battle's going to be rejoined, but they're not in a good position. Transistor tries to land the Earth Shadow, doesn't manage to find it. It comes in with the tire, and oh no, down goes Stoop. So there goes the Reinhardt. They swap onto a Winston now, so 3 tanks in this lineup as they try and grow forward. But Nubris looking incredibly solid on this defense.
Yeah, and that's no surprise. Nubris, as a team, they have had some really good defenses in the past, and going up against a team that might be new like Neighbors, you know, it's what is to be expected. I'm loading in game here. I'll be back in just a second. Again, sorry for the technical issues. Usually, computer doesn't do this sort of thing.
If it's going to happen, it's going to happen. It's one of those facts of life, isn't it? But meanwhile, Buds finds... Oh, they switched to Zenyatta now, but Buds easily finds that. Minstrel managed to get a kill on Genji. Well, I think Genji tried to find a flank there. Transistor lands a charge, but no one's on the point. No one's contesting it. And that was a very tidy full hold from Nubris. So all Nubris have to do is basically push to the first point, because you are running stopwatch rules.
Right, the way stopwatch rules work is that we judge teams based on their performance on an individual map. Because Nubris was able to complete a full hold against the side of Neighbors, Neighbors is going to have to at least match the same on their end. If they don't, that'll mean that Nubris has a superior performance here in Hollywood, and as a result, Nubris will be taking this map away from Neighbors.
Yeah, and it's looking really good for Nubris right now. It's not too big a surprise. As you said, they are definitely the favorites in this match. Neighborhood Overwatch just being a new team, Nubris being one of the oldest teams around, so they have a very practiced defense. They all look ready to go and just well-rehearsed, basically, in their defense.
Definitely.
Now, it is going to be down to Neighborhood Overwatch to try and do the same. I'm going to be curious to see if they set up in the same way. Are they going to run the Symmetra? I highly expect so. She's just so useful in these first points where, you know, you're trying to basically reinforce, and she does give you basically the lifeline. If you do start to lose the point, if you do have that teleporter up, it's basically the only way you're going to get back in time to contest it properly. If that teleporter isn't up, then you basically just have to concede that first point very quickly.
And that's sort of the gamble of Symmetra at times, too. A lot of teams will take that gamble, looking at the meta. People run Symmetra on first point on everything now, including payload maps in a lot of cases. But it does sort of have that thing where if a team is able to get a really good first push off, you won't get the teleporter down, and instead you'll just have the lesser combat power of Symmetra for basically no reason.
And it looks like teams are just about picking. Oh, our Neighborhood Overwatch going to do it? Are they going to do it? So let's run through the teams. On defense, we have Neighborhood Overwatch. We have Sub-Zero fight back on the Lucio. Xbree on the Symmetra. Ghost on McCree. Mixwigs on Torbjorn. Transistor on Reinhardt. And Donut on Junkrat.
Meanwhile, looking here at the offense, it is going to be Kusta, probably not Junkrat. He's messing around. He'll almost certainly be on Mercy. Teams, it's rare that they run without a Mercy nowadays, just because of how powerful her Resurrection is. But things that won't be changing here. It will be ID on the Pharah, Minstrel on the Lucio, Buds on Zarya, Coolmat on the McCree, Stoop on Reinhardt, and of course, mentioned a moment ago, Kusta is, in fact, on the Mercy.
And I'm trying to find where this Torbjorn has set up his turret. He's actually still running out of spawn, so he's got to get where he needs to be very quickly to put that turret down. Meanwhile, Symmetra set up her defensive web. Nice and ready, but this looks like it's going to be a very aggressive push coming out of Nubris. No big surprise there. They're going to have as many attempts as they can, I think. I'm trying to take that point. It wouldn't surprise me to see not a sound barrier, speed boost come out from Minstrel, and then just run in, try and flashbang over the Reinhardt barrier and push on the back of that.
The person to really watch as they move forward here is going to be ID. ID has had some great Pharah play in recent tournaments. Pharah really coming more into the meta with 1 hero limit, and wasting no time right now is ID just shooting rockets in, not only trying to crack the Reinhardt shield, but also looking for any splash in the back, which can be effective. But as you mentioned, Nubris here, they don't have to really go too quickly here. They have all the time in the world. They just need a cap point A. I expect they're going to be going in here pretty soon.
Yeah, and it looks like Ghost has actually gone and he's found it, so he's managed to take out one of the vital points. And it looks like Nubris are actually going to try and push off the back of this. Minstrel actually retaliates, does find Ghost. There's the charge from Transistor, pushing the other team back, but Minstrel just cleans that up, and this is looking really good now as that Lucius healing is so vital.
Yeah, Nubris is moving in, slow and steady as they go in, but look at Matt now. Matt with the damage boost moving in, able to take out Torbjorn and his turret. Deadeye on the way. Not going to get too much off the Deadeye, but might not need to, as ID in the back picks up the double kill, taking out both Donut and Xpree. And it might be over before it begins here. Nubris now on top of the point, about to cap it, and that will be map to Nubris.
Yeah, and like we said before, Nubris definitely the clear favorite there, but that was a really impressive showing. Even though they lost one of their heroes first, they just retaliated so cleanly and so quickly. They all sort of knew when to engage. There was very clear comms coming off the back of that because they just all went in, moved as a unit. And I'm going to pull us back to the lobby, but that was a good showing out of Nubris, and I'm excited to see how far they can go here.
Yeah, Nubris definitely looking solid coming out here tonight. And you want to talk about their offense. Even though they didn't win the set against his Envy, they did have an absolutely electric set where they did win a full attack against Envy. Envy beat them in a quicker time, but when you talk about the offense coming out from the side Nubris, it's definitely capable of going up against the very top teams in the game. And it was a smooth first offensive run there against Neighbors.
Yeah, and like you said before, I want to just touch on that point about Pharah, seeing Pharah come back, because it's really exciting to see for me, because Pharah, she's one of those heroes that can have such big plays. There's so much room for getting so much damage out of her as well. And she's one of those heroes that, dropped off for a while with the no hero limit rule set. Now with 1 hero limit, they can sort of bring it in just for that really high damage source, looking for some bursts, looking for some picks, break down Reinhardt barriers reliably, open things up, and just keep it moving nice and aggressively, and then try and get that link up with a Tobalstein, for example, and just absolutely wreck the other team. Because right now, as we've been saying, Mercy is so important. It's not who wins the fight, it's who wins the second fight, and Pharah is often so pivotal in doing that.
Alrighty, and just to let you guys know here, there were a little bit of sound issues coming through on stream. Just being told by production here that we're going to be restarting the stream, but we will be back in just a few short moments. We'll be going to the next map. Definitely should be a good one. You don't want to miss it. This is the One Nation of Gamers Operation Breakout Tournament. We'll be back in just a moment.